we have to like balance how much, or like at least one of us in our case has to balance how much we work in the hospital so that we can claim the real estate professional status. We have to work like, 51% in real estate versus, nursing. So it's like if I'm working 36 hours a week in nursing, I got to be working or show that I'm working 37 hours a week in real estate, which, we're probably working somewhere close to that, but it just becomes harder and harder. So point is like, it almost makes sense for me to like work less so that we can continue getting these tax benefits.
And we're recording. Roundtable episode number, give me a second, let me pull up the spreadsheet because I forgot what number this is.
Well, this is going well.
Roundtable episode number 7.
That's definitely wrong.
No, that seems way too many.
Welcome back to the Investing Iron podcast. We got another roundtable today with the team. And as you may notice, if you're on YouTube, Jen and I are in a different, not yet set up location in Northern California where we moved. I sound like I'm sick because we're being attacked by allergies up here because, as Josh was saying, for the first time ever, we're in a place where the air is clean, but there is a lot of pollen because we're like in an agricultural area. So we are struggling. We went to the farmer's market on Friday and we got bee pollen, honeycomb, and local honey that we've been medicating ourselves with. And if you're a hippie out there, you know exactly what we're talking about.
They learned a lot of things from the episode with Aisha Allen. They took lots of notes.
We're up here. Jen, how you feeling being in a new place?
I'm feeling very comfortable, although there is lots of furniture shopping that needs to happen, and we have about enough home things and I guess furniture to furnish like half of this house, not quite even half of this house.
That was
It's a big move for us.
Unprepared for when we got our first house. Like you consider like the house, the insurance and all that stuff, but the furniture, blinds, all that like adds up so fast. I was not prepared. I'm excited for you guys.
It's crazy. Even just like blinds for windows, like each set of blinds you're buying, depending on the size it is somewhere between like $50 and $100. So if you got 20 windows in your house, that adds up quick. And we're in a rental, but I don't know. We're trying to figure out what's going on with this property management company and what all they're going to provide. Because so far, it seems like we might be on our own here.
We're definitely on our own. We're like, is there a move-in checklist or anything? There's so many things wrong with that. Not wrong with that house, but there's definitely some damages, and it was very dirty when we moved in. So, yeah, we're just trying to figure out what we're dealing with here.
Does that make you think you've been doing too good of a job in your own property management company?
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, it's been very comforting. I'm like, oh, snap. All right, we've got this.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was like, man, like, not to say we're managing low-end rentals, but we're definitely not managing rentals at this level, like at least at this price point. And if they're getting away with this at this price point, like we're doing an excellent job at the price point we're managing at. So it is a little eye-opening in that sense. And even the building we've been managing in Los Angeles, like I was always so worried prepping each of the units for rental, like just to address every last little thing and like, new blinds, making sure the floors are mopped and everything's dusted before people move in. And then we come here, we're just like, wait a second, what?
And like remopped and re-swept, because you were always telling me to run in there if you couldn't. Yeah, so we were always making sure the units were very clean and everything was like laid out when tenants came in. So we're coming into this situation, we're like, okay, good to know.
Yeah. Not to say we will decrease our level of quality, but,
right.
But it's just like, okay, well, this is why people complain about property management all the time.
This episode is sponsored by All Day Investments. If you would like to get your start in real estate investing, but don't want to deal with toilets or tenants, we have several new opportunities that might interest you. Head over to alldayinvestments.co/invest or follow the link in our show notes to book a call with our team. Kind of goes back to what who was that guy? Sergio was saying is like, if it's not hard to be the best, you just gotta actually do what you're supposed to do, and then you're automatically one of the best.
Yeah, and I mean this is definitely one of those situations, because even so, it's interesting. Like the property was listed by one property management company, which was mediocre at best, and now it's managed by a different property management company, which may or may not be tied into the family that owns the property.
It is. I was looking at their website today.
Okay, so might be like a family run thing, but in any case, like they've been equally mediocre. And like we mentioned a bunch of stuff that needs to be addressed at the house, and the guy like emailed Jen back and was like, "Yeah, it would be good for you to take some videos for your own records." And we're like, "Yeah, dude, but we want you to like actually fix this stuff because we're here living, and like we there's a pool here and there's a deck outside by the pool, and there's literally just like these gaping holes in the deck, like screws sticking up, the heads of the screws at least,
Like
but
rusty
still."
screws. It's just like a terrible accident waiting to happen. Somebody's going to step through the floor and destroy their foot.
Oof.
Yeah. And then the pool, as amazing as it is, we're like in the middle of fields and vineyards, and we found like I think 2 or 3 dead mice, couple dead lizards. Today there was a dead snake in the pool, like in the little chlorine bucket that floats around in the pool. There's this dead baby snake, which we took a picture of. It's actually terrifying to see a dead
It
baby
is
snake. Baby snakes,
horrifying.
period. It's like, yeah, it's just weird. So
We're finding out how much city people we are.
Jen is a city person. I'm very comfortable.
You're not comfortable at all. We're the same out here. Indy's our child. All 3 of us are just like, bugs and like snakes and lizards. There's like lizards everywhere, and it's scaring us every day. And we're like, oh my gosh, this
I
is
mean,
a fun adjustment.
I don't mind it so much, but it is an adjustment. Like it just takes some getting used to. Like I've only been startled like day by day. I'm startled less times per day by like small lizards, just because they move and like I don't expect them. And like the other night, I was in the garage, and one would like move from between a box, and I definitely thought I was being attacked by a snake. But I think that's what it all comes down to, is like we just don't like snakes, and so anything that moves
Yeah.
in the wild, we're just like, that's a snake.
I'm always just worried about what it would look like if I accidentally stepped on one. That's what scares me, because then there's like, I don't know, what is that gonna, I've never done it, but what would it look like? Probably not
It would be
great.
destroyed if you stepped on it. Yeah, absolutely. Just make sure you step on the head, not the tail. As long as you step on the head, like you're good. But yeah, don't worry. Us country folks will teach you how to do things from here on out.
It's funny that you're realizing that, because you were making fun of me for being a city guy.
But yeah, no, it's been good. So we moved up here. We're in the middle of the vineyards. Yeah, allergies are kicking our butts. And Jen, as of 3 days ago, started orientation at the hospital.
Yes, I'm official. Back in the grind.
Back to your nemesis. It's not so bad this time, though, is it?
Yes. No. This I think I would have really enjoyed my nursing career probably a lot more had I started in a place like this. But I've kind of gone from like large institution to just whatever, all the city hospitals, and then traveling, and it's all been kind of high stress environments. And I'm here doing orientation, and we were talking about this a little bit earlier, but the hospital is like so small and family oriented, and everybody knows everybody, and you see your boss at the cafeteria today, and they're just so friendly, and everyone actually looks happy, and I'm like, what is this environment? Where am I?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that it's going to be a much different situation working here in a small rural hospital and working in a specialty. Like even just going through orientation this week, everything has been like not applicable to me because I'm so specialized now. Like this whole orientation has basically been for like bedside nursing, and I'm not really doing that. So I've been so excited going through this. I'm like, yep, doesn't apply, doesn't apply, doesn't apply. I'm pumped for what I'm about to be doing.
I just finished doing some of my yearly orientation. I had to go through all like all the dumb stuff. I don't know if I want to trash it verbally, openly, but it was all the dumb stuff. And it's like, man, you really have to be just a terrible human being. Like who actually did all this stuff to her? Now we have to be trained on it.
Oh yeah.
Is that what you're going through right now?
It's just, I don't know. It's crazy because like I don't know if you guys do health streams in Wisconsin or for CRNAs, but like the health stream thing is probably the dumbest thing. And I'm like, okay, what hospital was sued for each of these individual health streams that I'm doing? Because I'm like, nobody is paying attention to this. Everybody's just clicking through it or like put like,
it's like these modules are just the video portion of them are like 45 minutes. How did you finish it in 2.5 minutes?
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, but then there's a few of them where you have to like watch the whole video. So it was like the other day I was working and I was doing them and I was just like, one of the other nurses was like, oh, you just do this. You like open this thing, go back this way, open a new tab. And I had like 4 different videos going at the same time.
Oh wow.
And they're all playing at the same time. And then I'm just like flying through the tests. But yeah, I mean, it's like nobody's actually doing them, like, or like learning from them anyway. So it's just, I don't know, more waste in the healthcare system, time waste.
I'm glad you guys found the small. I don't know if is this officially like a critical access that you guys are in now. I know I've been talking about that for years because in anesthesia, I think it's the best. It's the best job, the secret sauce. But it sounds like that's kind of the case for nursing also.
Yeah, and I think some of the drawback of working in these smaller places for nursing staff is maybe not for you, but for the rest of us, the pay structure is a lot less than like the people at Kaiser and UCLA, like all these big name hospitals. Like obviously they pay so much more, the unions, but us having real estate and having some tax depreciation, we're actually able to have more of a competitive salary here from being able to go exempt for, we'll see how long, but currently our paychecks are going to look like some of the larger hospitals because of the real estate. If we're
Yeah, it's a shame that you're almost.
I was gonna say, you heard depreciation, you got.
I've made more Instagram posts on depreciation than any other topic because it's the most powerful one and nobody talks about it. Oh, I was gonna say it's a shame that you're forced to work less so your paychecks can be higher. Really, it's unfortunate for you guys.
I would say there's probably about, from talking to some people here that work at both the hospital we're at and like Kaiser hospitals, and Stanford's another one, big one up here that pays a ton of money. It sounds like as a per diem, because I'm per diem, and it sounds like as per diem I might even be making like $20 or $30 an hour less than some of these other nurses are making in these other hospitals, which is significant. But it's like, I think part of the reason we were able to come back to nursing is because we knew what type of hospital we were going back to.
Oh, definitely.
And like, had we been going back to one of these big, university hospitals or Kaiser or some of these big systems, like I don't think I would have been, I don't want to say I wouldn't have been okay doing it, but it definitely would have been a lot harder. And it's just not worth it. And especially now that we have like this tax strategy through these cost segregation studies and, accelerated depreciation, all this stuff, it's great. And even like to the extent where I think people expect you as a nurse to just pick up as much as possible. Cause I've had a couple conversations with people and they're like, oh, like how many shifts are you trying to get per week? And I'm like 2, maybe 3 if I can. But I was like trying to explain to them how like,
lady, I got a life. I got stuff to do. I'm not trying to be here all the time.
No, but it's not even that. Like I was just trying to explain to them like, not only does it kind of balance out getting paid less hourly, but it's like it so like with the real estate professional status, and like definitely check everything I'm saying because we're still kind of learning this strategy, but it's like we have to like balance how much, or like at least one of us in our case has to balance how much we work in the hospital so that we can claim the real estate professional status. We have to work like 51% in real estate versus, nursing. So it's like if I'm working 36 hours a week in nursing, I got to be working or show that I'm working 37 hours a week in real estate, which, we're probably working somewhere close to that, but it just becomes harder and harder. So point is like, it almost makes sense for me to like work less so that we can continue getting these tax benefits, because the alternative is I work 36 hours a week, I make more money, but then now I'm actually having to pay taxes rather than going exempt. And I'm like back in the same, take home net income that I would be now at 2 days a week. And it's like, yeah, why would I work more if I can work 2 days a week and make the same amount of money?
This strategy works if you continue to buy real estate. As soon as you stop buying real estate, then all the depreciation is used. It doesn't last forever. You use it all up front, and that's what makes it so powerful. But I will say, we do have to pay all these taxes that we're avoiding now. We will have to pay them. It's just we don't pay them now. We'll pay them later when our properties are worth substantially more money, and so it doesn't affect us as much.
Yeah.
It comes out of that pot instead of out of the pot that we're earning right now.
Right. Yeah. I guess that should be, it's like a tax deferral strategy rather than like just like taxes just vanish into thin air. It's like, yeah, you're still on the hook for them. The IRS is going to get theirs one way or the other.
Right.
But it's just like,
He'll get it just in 10 years or 20 years.
Yeah. And then it's like, oh yeah, we're worth $10 million. And then the IRS is like, well, you owe me 8. And it's like, we're worth $2 million.
And then it kind of goes back to like the multi-10 millionaires that we
now
are, because then we'll have paid it a few times.
Then we get to be multimillionaires again. And even that, like, I think you have to understand that, because it's like some people, there's a certain peace of mind of just like getting your paycheck, paying the government, and getting a tax return at the end of the year and knowing you're like good. You're not having to worry about like, okay, one day down the road, I'm gonna have this huge tax bill. And it's kind of like the student loans. It's like, does it make sense to like pay off all your student loans that have a 5% interest rate when you could be making 10% on that same money? Like, no. But if it's just like a peace of mind thing, I think that's a huge factor that needs to be considered. And it's like kind of to each his own in that situation.
Yeah. I used to be a lot more long-winded on that question. If I've had some CRNA students or even nursing students ask me that question, like, should I pay off my student loans? And I used to be a lot more long-winded in it, but now I just tell them, like, strictly, if you are only looking at the numbers, no, do not pay them back. But then I always caveat it with, if it's emotionally taxing, then yes, pay it off.
Oh yeah.
And it's a lot more simple now than it used to be. I used to like go through the numbers with them, like, oh, this is why it doesn't make sense to pay them off. But then I went and paid them off because it was emotionally taxing on me. And I was like, well, I can't give people advice that I'm not taking myself.
I forgot I had student loans.
What's that like?
I'm not taxed. I'm not mentally taxed about it at all.
That's the set it and forget it plan.
Yeah, set it and forget it for sure. I'm pretty sure we're still on deferment too.
But I will say, like,
I don't know.
Not
Maybe. Worried.
You don't even know.
No, but that is the thing though. It's like, okay, I don't know. I mean, if you have a low, I mean, your student loan payments were pretty high. Like, you probably could have done something to get those payments significantly lower, especially like having kids and now with the real estate stuff. But if you can get, I think my brother told me one time that he had like, he comes up to me and he's all excited. He's like, bro, I just got my student loan payments down to $20 a month. And I was like, what? What small percentage of the interest are you paying off each month for the rest of your life? But it's like, I mean, if you could pay $20 a month for the rest of your life, like, yeah, why ever pay them off?
It's like he took out 10 grand and in 20 years he owes 50 grand.
But
don't they get passed down to your family?
They can worry about that later.
They're on their own.
I think it gets passed to your spouse, so you'll be okay.
Oh, I'm definitely going to go before you, so I have nothing to worry about.
Yeah, we have decided that I'm probably
from all that stress on the student loans.
Right. It's finally going to catch up to me someday.
Yeah. So it's been good. I definitely think so I worked today. It ended up being like I guess if you count the time I was in the hospital. It was a 13-hour shift because like it got busy, which they lied to me. It was not supposed to ever get busy at this hospital, and I was very upset. But it was busy. It got busy late in the shift, and so I didn't want to. I stayed a little later to just get things cleaned up. So coming home and putting scrubs back on was a lot less appealing than it has been in the past when we've recorded these things, and I'm not actually working in the hospital. I'm like, oh yeah, sure, I'll throw a scrub top on. That's kind of fun. Now I'm like, this is a clean one, by the way, but still, it's lost its novelty now that I'm actually back in the hospital.
Terrible idea.
Yeah, but it's been good.
And this is the last episode we wear scrubs.
Yeah,
it might be.
Yeah, I'm ready to change.
Yeah. Yeah, I wore my scrub bottoms. These are my special Nurses Week scrub bottoms that I wear with really long socks. It's cool. It's free. It was free dress. What day is it? Wednesday today, so it's fine. But yeah, I think this has been interesting for us because it's been a test of our systems within the property management and the business, and I definitely will say I think the one thing that's been tough right now is like there has been zero structure in our life lately, just with moving. And like the other day, I think it was like Monday, we have we still haven't even unpacked the whole house, and we got stuff to do. We got podcast episodes to record. We got to set it up. We got to test things out. But we also had a pile of laundry and no washer or dryer yet. So it was just like, all right, I got to work a couple shifts and I got no clean clothes. So Monday, I went and drove 2 or 3 hours to get a washer and dryer. And so it's been a little hectic lately, and we've been trying to manage the business still. And I mean, I will say and Jenn can kind of speak to this more, but thank goodness for the VAs, because if we didn't have the VAs,
virtual assistants.
Oh, sorry, yeah, the virtual assistants, and we use a couple out of the Philippines who are just awesome. But if we didn't have them, things would have come to somewhat of a halt, or we would have just become like these other property management companies that are out there.
Yeah,
They're just
ghosted everyone,
just disregard everything. So
yeah, on my lunch break today, I try to have a weekly team meeting with my virtual assistant who is heavily in the property management, and I've been trying to prep her for me going back to work full time and Colin going back, but doing the 3 days a week. My schedule is 5 days a week, so I told her I'm going to be barely available like I have been. So I've been prepping her, and I still wanted to try to do the weekly meeting today. So I'm like, all right, on my 30-minute lunch break, I'm going to scarf down some food, and then I'm going to call you and let's go over anything that you're stumped on. And it's mid-April, but we acquired a park last month. So we're still ironing out some things.
Just a quick correction. It's mid-May right now.
What month did I say? March.
You said it's mid-April.
Oh, whatever. It's been a blur. We're here. Wherever we are. But yeah, it's definitely going to be very challenging continuing to manage what we manage. But yeah, thankfully we have our team. And why are you laughing?
Because I do this all the time also, but at least the numbers that I throw out, people have a little bit harder time fact checking me. That one was very easily checked.
Well, I didn't even catch it right away because she goes, it's mid-April. I was like, oh, show is mid-April.
We're so tired.
But then she goes, but when do we get that park? And I was like, oh, we got it April 1st. But then I was thinking, wait, we've had that park more than 14 days.
Anyways, you know how it is.
Actually, that might be a good segue, because we've had some struggles with this newest acquisition. Some struggles that we didn't have with any of the other ones. Mm-hmm. Should we bring that up? Since I brought it up, should we bring it up?
Since you're talking about it already. I mean, what's there to say? It was a little bit. The owner, I think, threw us for a loop.
We got bamboozled.
Yeah, we did.
Don't buy property in the UP from a guy who lives in Texas.
Yeah, I mean,
there's more to that story.
In the spirit of Jocko Willink, I'm trying to think what could we have done, or what could I have done to have made this a smoother transition? And like, I definitely like could have been better throughout this whole process leading up to the actual purchase and takeover of the park. But a big thing we ran into,
So you could have called him a liar to his face a few more times, and that could have prepared us better.
well, it's not even that it's not even that he's a liar. It's just that like so the issue was the closing date kept getting pushed back, which I guess wasn't necessarily this time. It wasn't really the bank. It was more to do with the appraisal, because the appraisal came in at enough. It came in at what we needed it to be. But the I don't know, Josh, maybe you can talk about the appraisal process and like what kind of happened there and how that got screwed up a little bit.
Yeah, so there was so much back and forth. I'm not sure I can remember the entire picture, but basically, it appraised at what we needed it to. Um, they have like based on comps the appraisal, and then they have based on your income approach. Based on comps, it appraised at what it needed to be, like basically the purchase price. Based on income approach, it appraised at like 25%. Okay, not quite. It's like 25% above comp value. And so originally, I was just try to kind of like negotiate with the bank, like, hey, can we like base our loan off of the income approach? Because at that rate, we could come out of pocket with no money out of pocket again. And he was kind of open to the idea. Like we actually had a conversation about it. But then after diving into the appraisal a little bit more, found out that they got the number of homes wrong that were tenant owned. They got the number of pads that were empty wrong. They got a lot of different things that were wrong on this appraisal. And he's like, well, unfortunately, we can't even use this appraisal because it's like wrong information. So at that point, he's like, we're just going to have to go back to the appraiser, get him to basically redo most of it. And then at that point, he's like, a lot of times these appraisers are either upset or they don't want them, so they're not going to really work with you on any numbers that you are wanting them to. And that's basically what happened. They're like, okay, well, we'll fix all those numbers. And even though this new appraisal, the park is actually bringing in substantially more income than our original appraisal, we're going to appraise it at the exact same number, which doesn't make sense to me. Didn't make sense to the bank either. The bank's like, that doesn't make sense to me, but we have to use this number.
Well, I was gonna say, and then we had already. I think we had written into our contract like a certain amount of time, an extension, based on financing issues. So we were okay in that sense. Like we weren't in jeopardy of like losing the deal or losing the earnest money or anything like that. But we were getting close to the end of that extension period where we were like, okay, we actually just need to close this thing. And then it was supposed to close on March 29th. But then there was, so, again, like if you're not familiar, Josh is in Wisconsin, we're in California. So I do all my signings remote, and I always scan copies of the signed pages and email those to the title company before I mail the packet back. But Josh signed in person with the loan officer, banker. What do they call themselves?
Yeah, with
The money guy.
the money guy, the bank.
Yeah.
He is the bank. So I signed documents with him in person.
But then,
And I didn't think that I needed to do anything else because I'm signing it with the guy. So like, what am I supposed to do at that point?
right. So they didn't get overnighted back in time, or they did get overnighted. Oh, I think you guys even overnighted them, but like there was an issue with UPS or something like that. So the title company didn't get the papers until Monday, which by Monday it was the first of the month. So in the meantime, like I'd reached out to the seller trying to figure out, hey, like, what are we going to do about rents? Can you collect the rents this month and just cut us a check?
Because it's what, the 29th or the 1st?
It was already the 29th I think we were supposed to close on the 29th already. But then with the delay, it got pushed back to the 1st, which like this guy was like super stickler, we found out, because he notifies us that we owe him prorated rent refund, and all these checks are made out to like the previous park name instead of our LLC. So we have all these checks that we can't cash and these money orders that we can't cash. So like I was trying to work with the guy, and every other buyer we've worked with has been seller has been great. Like if there was an issue like this, we've been able to work it out where it's like, hey, like it's coming up. Can you collect these checks, cash them, and cut us a check, whatever? Like, they've been super easy. This dude, I don't know where he comes up with this stuff, and maybe he's right, but he was just like trying to make it out to be like this big deal. Like if he was going to have to cash these checks and then cut us a thing, his involvement would be this, this, and this, and blah, blah,
Wasn't
blah.
he going to charge us for like
He wasn't
all
going to,
this stuff?
he wasn't
too?
going to charge us, but I offered
Oh,
to pay him just because like,
He did he did threaten to charge interest on these prorated rents if we take a long time to give them back to him,
which Josh in all his wisdom,
which I took a long time to pay him. I did that.
So it's funny because I worked today and like came home and basically ate and started setting up to record. So I think we got an email today. What was he saying in the email? Because Josh texted our group text about this particular seller, and I'm guessing by the text you sent that he's charging us interest.
No, that's not what it was. No, so I paid him personally, and he said, he's like, and he goes into like attorney jargon, like through every email basically. He's like, based on the contract between you guys and myself, I should be paid through this LLC and blah blah blah. I almost want to pull it up and read it because I can't do it justice. It's very much it sounds like he's a lawyer from South Texas in all of his emails.
I think now that
But basically I have to pay him again, and he's like, as soon as I get payment, I will show proof that I have disposed of the old payment or something like that. And I kind of want to respond to him in the way that we have been dealt with. It's like, well, it would actually not make sense for us to pay you before we get, confirmation that the previous payment has been disposed of.
on board with that.
You know what you should do is you should make him mail us the other check back. You should be as petty as possible.
Yeah. Can you please? Because I'm dealing with all these checks now.
Yeah. So here's like, I guess the moral of the story is like, you'll come across certain things in your investment journey, and like, never take the high road. Like, always. if you can, just be as petty as possible, just because, like, why not?
Because YOLO.
Yeah.
I've learned. I say I've learned. Learning. It's the journey. I haven't learned yet. I'm learning to not respond quickly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'll say something and it's not the right thing. So I got that today. I'm going to respond in 30 to 60 days. and then he'll get and by then I'll have a good response.
Good.
Well, I will say, like, just in general, like in life, I think that's a good lesson, because I've definitely started like thinking things through a little more before I respond, because usually my like first 5 to 10 responses that I come up with in my head will end up causing more harm than good.
Oh, that's me, definitely.
And once I've rewritten it, like, and Jenn especially.
So bad. I would say my first probably 20 responses are like ending.
Jenn's first 10 responses usually involve some sort of Supreme Court situation,
some legal action.
no matter the magnitude of the issue,
like,
there is some legal
you're either
entity
fired
involved,
or like you're evicted. I'm like, no, tone it down.
I'm sure there's been like murder at some point. So that's why she is the iron fist of all day investments, because I think some really good comebacks, but in the long run, it's like, well, what does it benefit? And on top of that, I think the big thing too is like, for all of us being, of a Christian background, it's always just like, okay, well, like, what message am I actually trying to put out there? And it's like,
I probably didn't say on this podcast the story of the first car I ever bought. That's a good segue, because let me tell that story now. Okay. So I had always wanted, I don't know where you're going with that, but my turn for a story.
Something popped into my head. I'm saying it now.
I had always wanted an Audi, and I finished anesthesia school and finally saved enough to buy it, and I was super excited. So I don't drive over. The car was in Detroit. I have a few friends there. I was like, hey, go check it out. Make sure it's not like a scam. They go see the car. It was good. So I get a bus ticket. I go over there. I pay for it in cash. Well, it was a cashier's check, so that's cash. I get home, and I realized that it was not the car I wanted. So I wanted the 3.0 twin turbo, whatever prestige package, and it was like the lower tier. Don't ask me how I didn't figure this out before I got home in the car, but that's when I figured it out. And I reached back out to this person on Facebook. I was like, hey, this is not the car that you sold me, or this is not the car I thought it was. The car that I got would have been several $1,000s cheaper, based on my research at the time. But I told him, I was like, you know, it's fine. I'm a Christian. I'm going to let this go. I really appreciate working with you. I love the car. And I left it at that. Come to find out later, 2 days later, when I go to the DMV to get the title, they're like, oh, this car has a loan on it. You can't have the title until that loan's paid off. So then I go back to the original seller. I was like, oh my goodness, like there's a loan on this. Did you know about this? And she's like, oh yeah, that's the loan that I have on that car. And at this point I had already given them the cash, and I was kind of stuck.
Man.
But she worked with me. She's like, at that point, I could have never heard from her again. And she just has my, I don't know how much it was, 18 grand, I think, something like that. And she has my money. But I keep going back to the thought that because of the way I responded the first time, she was actually willing to work with me, and she had it paid off within 24 hours.
Oh, wow.
So that's good. Good story.
The best part of that story,
random good story though.
Just for reference though. So this car was in Detroit.
Yeah.
And you live in Green Bay?
Suburbs. All of the good suburbs.
So how long was that drive?
I don't know. 6 hours, maybe? Something like that.
And you didn't realize until after 6 hours of driving this car that it was the wrong model?
So I was a brand newbie on cars. I didn't even look up the VIN number when I was buying it. And that's when I get back to Chicago. Actually, we went to Nicole's family, and I like Googled the VIN number, and it like pulls up this car that is like a lower tier than the one I thought I was buying.
It pulled up a Toyota Prius.
I've learned a lot in the last 12 years. Yeah, I bought this Lamborghini. Turns out it was a Prius.
Nicole's dad probably took one look at it. He was like, "This is not the right tier." You know, that kind of goes back to when I first met Jenn, and
we don't need to go there.
We have to tell this
That's
story.
Not really on the same track as the
it kind of is. It's related to cars.
And close it out with this story.
It's related to cars and registration, and so we're in Loma Linda, California, and I was staying with my buddy at the time, and we were going to pick up Jenn. And as we're waiting for Jenn to come out, he just like kind of casually goes like, "Is her registration like 2 years past due?" And I was like, "In fact, it is." So when she got in the car, I was like, "Hey, like your registration's like way past due," and she's like, essentially, basically, like she's just like, "So," and I was like, "Well, you have to pay that." And she's like, "Well, I'm not going to," and I was like, "No, but you have to." And she's like, "I'm not going to pay that," and I was like, "Yeah, you're going to have to pay it, and there's going to be some fines and everything like that, but you got to pay it." She's like, "Well, I'm not going to pay it," and I was like, "Well, they're going to like impound your car," and she's like, "Well, I'll sue them." And I was like, "Who is them?" And it was like the Colorado state government, the federal government, the president, like whoever. She would sue them to just get out of this thing.
Again, the first response maybe wasn't it. Might have needed to work back. Should have responded in 30 to 60 days.
But the point is, and this is not a knock on your collective parents, but
it is.
Going back to financial education.
But they could have done something.
Yeah, and I mean like just going back to like education and financial education and life prep and all that stuff. Like there are certain things that like, you know, like I think the first time I bought a car, you know, I did it like I was younger and I was with my dad and we bought it, and like he went with me and kind of walked me through the process. So it was like I had the advantage of like having him looking over my shoulder, and you know, I guess he was the mentor on my first deal. So cash transaction, obviously. It was a 3-figure transaction.
I'm surprised it wasn't gold or silver, knowing your dad.
I was
you bought it with blocks of gold.
Yeah, it was
just whatever.
I think it was like 35 pounds of ammunition.
Yeah, that sounds right.
a half block of silver and 4 cans,
And a few chickens.
4 cans of beans.
There you go.
No, but it was like, yeah, no, it was like a 3-figure transaction, and like, you know, we just, but he like kind of walked me through the steps. So going forward,
A 3-figure transaction, like $100.
no, it was like 9.
Obviously a Lambo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Funny story about that car. That was, no, it was actually probably a 4-figure transaction, but I sold it to a good friend of mine, and if he's listening, he'll know exactly who he is, for a 3-figure transaction. 2 easy 3-figure transaction payments. And like, I don't know, a few months after that, we were like showing up to play soccer, and he was like, I was like, dude, what happened, man? Why are you late? He's like, the brake lights don't work. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, the brake lights don't work on the Jeep. I was like, yeah, man. And the floor gets really hot if you drive too far. Like, like it's an $800 car. But he was very upset. So yeah, don't do business with friends
Or family.
Or family. And don't start businesses with family
yeah.
either.
Yeah.
Never, definitely do not. But I don't know where we're going with all this.
Yeah.
We liked doing business with each other so much in real estate, we decided to do media together also, which has been also fun.
Yeah, started basically a second business or third, whatever this is now.
I guess this is the third at this point, if we count the actual investing, the property management, and the media.
That is true.
We didn't learn our lesson.
I know.
Third time's the charm.
What are we doing?
But I will say,
that's right.
Kind of going back to the whole thing about my dad helping with the car and you guys kind of being cut loose on your own a little more. I think your parents would probably disagree that you guys were just cut loose, but you kind of were. And like, so going back to, real estate,
And
I was going to say, going back to real estate and doing business with family, like, even though we didn't have an experienced mentor looking over our shoulder and helping us with our first deal, at least we had each other to bounce ideas off of. But I will say, like, having somebody that's going to like has some sort of experience being able to like look through your deal and just kind of like walk you through the steps of it. There's so much value in that. So I definitely think if you're trying to get started, just find somebody who's doing it. Even if they've only done one deal, like they will have learned something from that one deal that they can help you, that you can apply to your first deal.
I think people that have had some level of success like helping people who are getting started at a certain level. Like there's a lot of people where you can kind of tell, like they're just fishing for no reason. Like, just give me some answers. Like, buy this deal for me and then hand it over to me. Like, you can tell there's a lot of those people out there too, but you can also really tell if there's somebody who's like genuine and they want to get going. And I say that, I think that's what happens.
And the whole bring value thing, like, I definitely think there is value in bringing value, but
Good one.
But
Guru blowing up on social media for his one-liners.
Well, what I was gonna say is, like, like, I know, like, all these bigger pockets, they always talk about, like, don't just go ask somebody for advice and like bring value. But I think, like, for me, I really enjoy talking about this stuff. So like, even if you're not bringing me, and this is just me for my personal thing, but like, obviously if you bring value, that's great. But it's like, for me, if somebody's asking me questions, I just want to know that I'm not wasting my time. Like, yeah, like, I don't want somebody that's just like kicking the tires. Like, if you're actually legitimately interested, like, I'm super excited to help you. And if I actually think you're going to like take my advice and apply it, like, all the more reason for me to like jump up and help you. But it's like, if you go up to somebody and you're like asking them all these questions and then all of a sudden you just like disappear and never do anything with it, like, good luck getting them to ever help you again. So it's just like, if you're going to ask somebody for help, like, actually you don't have to take their advice like exactly, but like do some sort of like take some sort of action from it. That's the only thing I would say.
And you can always tell when somebody who's done any level of research or self-education before they start asking questions. You can tell by the level of questions that they're asking, like if they've actually done any type of research or any YouTube, any podcast, anything at all, by the questions that they're asking. And if they're asking good questions, yeah, I'm happy to help, of course. Want to see other nurses especially have a lot of success. Success.
I want to be successful. Is that what you were going to piggyback off of, or did you forget what you were going to piggyback?
Nope, that was it. I didn't forget this time.
Yeah, so here we are, new place. If you're ever in the wine country of Northern California, look us up. We got a good little spot. Lots of rodents and snakes, but outside of that, it's great.
So if you've made it to the end and you haven't given us a rating or a follow or a subscription, do all of those things. And ask us some questions that you want us to answer on the next round table. We're going to continue to try to do these every month.
Oh, weren't we going to answer questions on this round table?
Oh, shoot. Where's my phone? Oh, my phone's over there. Second camera.
You just
Yeah,
have
we
to go one
probably should
camera for the
answer
end.
questions since
I might be able to find the pictures here on my laptop. So let me just.
Well, if you took the pictures, it's on Nicole's phone, so just grab her phone.
Actually, we fixed that problem.
oh,
It wasn't a problem, but we fixed that. All the same.
that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Response IG. I even created a folder for it.
Should we talk about the upcoming election at all, or?
I think the president has less to do with the economy than we give him credit for, whoever he may be or she. I think they're going to take credit. They're going to take credit for the good stuff and blame the bad stuff on somebody else. But I really don't know how much the control they actually have on interest rates. I think it's the Federal Reserve, and it's very disconnected.
Yeah, but that's what. But it is like inevitably. I think there's some sort of like fluctuations and pricing and stuff surrounding like election times. So
Yes.
one way or the other, it'll
Something
be
about
interesting.
oil.
Like now we're like 6 months away from the next election, so it'll be I'm just curious. Like I don't really have an idea of what's going to happen, but I'm just curious to see what's going to happen.
Here in Wisconsin, back earlier this year, gas prices were like going down, and I was like, "Oh, great! Just in time for the election." They're gonna want gas prices to be really low right before the election, so it like stimulates the economy. And I was like, I'm gonna go on this nice long road trip in our motorhome, and it's gonna be like $1 per gallon. It's gonna be nice. But then they came back up again, so I don't know. I don't know what to think anymore.
It has
It's a roller coaster.
It has been pretty confusing. I really don't know. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. But that being said, as soon as we can get everything settled down, despite Jen's best wishes, we will be buying more stuff.
I have, it's, I think, normal to feel overwhelmed. I was actually just listening to another podcast this week, and they're talking about, the beginning stages of building a business and being an entrepreneur. And they're like, being overwhelmed is just part of the game. It's what you're doing. Like, if you're not overwhelmed, you're probably not doing something right. And like long nights and just being all in on the business and not having work-life balance, or like that in the beginning, you do not have balance. You're going after it and you're doing all these things that nobody else is willing to do. And that's like the difference in the businesses that don't make it and the businesses that do. People who are willing to, do the hard stuff and go the extra mile, and probably make or definitely make a lot of sacrifices that most people won't. Yeah, so I have no idea why I started saying all that. I totally lost my train of thought, but
well, it was because I said we're going to buy more parts.
oh yes.
And
Yeah, so that's
Oh yeah.
Yeah, going back to you guys are definitely always wanting to charge ahead, and I'm kind of the one that, just our places in the business, I'm trying to figure out how we're actually moving forward and managing than what we're collecting. So as I'm going back to work and 5 days a week currently, anyways, it's just I'd like to get everything kind of dialed in and figure out how the business works, how it's smoothly it's running with both of us in nursing, really getting our team up to speed and seeing how automated we can get things before we start charging ahead again.
Yeah, there's a lot of benefits. I think we even talked about that at the beginning of this podcast. There are some benefits to being a W-2, just paying your taxes, going home and being done for the day. But I really like being able to record a podcast episode at 12:38 a.m. because that's the time that we choose, and it's not the time that anybody else chooses for us.
Right.
I'm doing this on my turn.
Which is the case today. It's 12:38 a.m., but we chose it, and I like that.
We did. We worked 36 hours a week, and now we work every single day, all day long.
36 hours a day.
Yay. Yes. 36 a day. Yeah, that's what it feels like right now. It's all good. Chose it.
Yeah. But and something that we, I guess, kind of briefly talked about earlier, I think before we started recording, was like how whatever we did when we exited like nursing, we didn't do it the right way. We didn't prepare ourselves enough to exit.
I don't think we capitalized either on the time that we had.
Yeah. Well,
Like, you know,
I don't know. It's hard to like, I don't know. This is just my personal thing. Like I very much feel that things like kind of happen for a reason and work themselves out the way they're supposed to. And it's like now being here where we're at, like we got this pretty awesome house despite like the snakes and the, you know.
apparently that just comes with the country. We didn't think things through.
Yeah. Well, and I'm glad too, because like we were actually at one point we were like looking at Montana and Idaho.
Oh my
and
gosh,
like,
we would have died.
We are in
like days.
We're in Napa Valley. Like if you look at the map,
like,
there are literally, it looks like some like that little pepper guy or whatever. It looks like he just sprinkled wineries like all around us. So it's like it's probably like as bougie country as you could ever be. And we're just like walking around all the time like, oh, lizard, like what? And like I love camping and I love like roughing it. But I think it's like this mind shift that I like change into when I'm camping, like where I don't wash my hands, like, and I'm just like okay with
You're
it.
suddenly this outdoorsy man.
But like in my everyday life, as I'm just trying to like grab something out of the garage, I'm just like, oh yeah, that looks like a rat's nest. I'm gonna close that cupboard door and just pretend I don't have any of that stuff that's in there. Just forget about it. So yeah, I don't know. It's weird. But anyways, I think like we obviously could have done better with the time we had outside of nursing. But I will say like it's cool to have spent the last 2 years building this business. And it's like now operating and running pretty smoothly and it's grown significantly. And I can see like a path for it to grow even more. But at the same time, now we're back in nursing and we're getting these steady paychecks. And it just feels like,
this
it feels like
crazy
found
now.
money almost. Cause it's like, you know, and I can't speak to Jenn because Jenn is just in orientation this week, and it might be a whole different story when she has her first
I might
5-day
be singing
work
another
week
tune next week. Yeah, or next month.
But
we'll see. No.
Yeah, she'll be planning her next exit from nursing.
No.
And next time we have a roundtable, I'm gonna be in a family of 6.
Oh yeah.
That sounds crazy, man.
That's crazy.
I'm basically just Amish. Don't have anything else to do.
The first Amish person with a 65-inch TV hung on the wall behind him.
It was on sale. Costco.
I don't think Amish people go to Costco. If you're Amish and you go to Costco, I apologize if I've offended you.
If you're Amish and you're listening to this media channel.
Oh, the question. Did you find the questions?
Oh, no, I did not. Next time.
Oh.
We'll get you on the next one.
Oh, look, I made this file.
There's nothing in it.
I did. Well, no, it was a separate file.
Man, typical.
It says underwriting assumptions, best practice for small RV parks and mobile home parks, and then difference between Mack and Miller blades. Nobody cares about that second one.
No.
But we'll get you on the next one. We'll answer the questions.
Like Josh said earlier, if you have not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, go ahead and subscribe. Give us a follow on Apple Podcasts. Rate and review, I guess. Like and subscribe, all the good things.
And tell us about one person. No. Tell one person about us.
Tell us about one person.
It's way too late.
We want to know all the people.
Just send us a message about one person. Just whoever. It could be anyone. It could be your son's baseball coach. Just tell us about him.
Tell one person about us, please.
If you have any suggestions or any topics you'd like us to discuss, or any people you'd like to see us interview, like just tell us about that person and just send us the info. But we aim to please, so let us know.